Good morning, one and all. I hope you are still having a wonderful Wednesday. Even though it's kind of a crummy outside Wednesday, it can still be wonderful. Let's take 2 seconds and look through our chart here. We're on Wednesday. There's already a video up for this. Make sure that you watch that. We have an application problem, which I'm about to help you with. You've got your division facts, so as you're pulling out your things, make sure you find one where 5 is a factor again. But this time you're looking for the division part of it. So instead of saying 2 times 5 is 10, I'm going to say 10 divided by 2 is 5. Slightly different flip on what you were practicing yesterday. And then you still have your equivalent match game that you could be practicing. Remember, it works just like the game memory. But for right now, I want to focus in on our question of the day here. Zoom it in so you can see the question. All right. It says, make sure you've got day 8. We are on our 8th day of virtual learning, so make sure that's the one you have. It says, a bag of potato chips contains 96 hundredths grams of sodium, which is another word for salt. If the bag is split into 10 equal servings, how many grams of sodium will each serving contain? So I'm going to go through my stuff here. I know I've got that many grams of sodium. I know that I'm going to take that bag and put it into 10 equal servings. How many grams of sodium will be in each serving is my question. Make sure you're getting your sentence form on there, leaving a blank space for my final answer. And make sure that your label is getting into that answer. So I should see something about grams of sodium in your sentence, because that's what we're looking at. But on to our picture here. What are we talking about this time? We're talking about the grams of sodium in a potato chip. So we have grams of sodium in the bag. Alrighty. And our starting spot. Now let's look at this thing. I'm going to draw my unit bar in because that's what the step says to do, is just draw a bar. We'll adjust it as I go back through my chunks here. I'm looking at this and I know that the whole bag has 96 hundredths of a gram of sodium. If I already know what's in the whole bag, where would that information belong in this picture? If you're thinking at the end for the total, you are absolutely correct. I know that that whole bag, which is what this bar is talking about now, has this much sodium in it. That's the whole bag. What am I doing to that bag? Check that part off. I'm taking that bag and I'm splitting it up into 10 groups. So I know that I'm taking that bag and I'm going to put it in 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, all the way to the 10th part. 1 bag, 2 bag, 3, all the way up to the 10th one. Okay, so there's that. Now the question says, how many of those is in each serving or is in one little part? So I know that it had this for the total. I know that I'm splitting it off into 10 groups. And I want to know what just one of those things is. Okay, so for your computation, I'm leaving you be. I think you can figure it out. Remember how things work with tens. That might save you some time. I will tell you, though, for those of you that are struggling to put this kind of together and decide if it's add, subtract, multiply, or divide, let me show you this. Maybe it'll help some of you, help some of my kids. Multiply and divide. Okay, when I'm adding, I'm always dealing in 1 part, another part, and a total. I just have to decide which of those things I don't have, and that'll guide me towards the kind of problem I'm working on here. For an addition, I'm taking a part and then another part, putting them together to get a total. If I'm subtracting, I already have a total. I'm taking off one of those parts to find a missing part. For example, Mrs. Cott has 10 apples. She ate 3. How many are left? That meant I already knew what I had. I got rid of a part of it, and I need another part of it. Up here it'd be like Mrs. Cott had 3 apples. Mr. Cott gave her 7 more. How many apples does she have now? That would be an addition kind. Multiplication, we know that addition and multiplication are related. So again, I have one part, and I'm going to multiply it by the other part to find my total this time. For example, Mrs. Cott went out on Monday and picked 3 apples. She went out 3 more times and picked the same amount of apples. How many does she have now? I'm doing something multiple times. In division, we know that division and subtraction are related. In division, I know my total, and I'm going to divide it into a certain amount of parts to find out what makes one of those parts. For example, Mrs. Cott had 10 apples, and she divided them into 2 groups. How many are in a group? Apparently, I really want apples today. That's a division problem. So thinking about those things, go back and look at this guy. Do I have a total? Yes, I do. So that already takes me down to either subtraction or division because I know what my total is. I'm doing something to that total. And in this one, I'm splitting it up into groups. What you need to decide is, does that sound more like a subtraction where I'm removing part of a group, or a division where I'm splitting up the total that I had into groups? Once you make that decision, it's just doing math. Alrighty, I hope that helps some of you guys. Make sure your teachers get your explanations. I've heard reports that some of the explanations are getting kind of lazy. You guys know what go in those. I need to hear about your drawing. I need to hear about the math you decided to do, how you did that math, and the answer. Alrighty, have a great day, guys.